So the garden is changing pretty fast these days. There's a lot to see, but the first thing I want to show you is my shirt. There's a really neat story behind this shirt. It is hand embroidered by one of my friends, and I know you can't read this, but it says, "This isn't even my final form." So this t-shirt was actually designed a few months ago by complete accident. Have you guys ever heard of Jackbox games? It's this set of games you can buy. They're party games. Everybody logs in on their phone and participates. And for this particular game, it's like a t-shirt designing collaborative contest, I guess. Everybody gets a chance to draw a picture, and then everybody also gets a chance to write a bunch of slogans for their t-shirts, and then everybody else gets to put together drawings that are not theirs with slogans that are not theirs to make the best combination that they think people will like and vote for in the final round. And so I drew this picture, and then somebody else captioned it, "This isn't even my final form." And it was by far the favorite t-shirt of that particular game, and I thought it was so cute. I was like, I have to make an actual t-shirt of this someday. And so for my birthday, one of my friends hand embroidered it onto this t-shirt for me, and it is very precious and I love it. And if you guys love it, maybe eventually it could be a real t-shirt that you could buy. So if you're new here, hi, my name is Rachel. This is Auxhart Gardening. This is my garden. I garden in basically my backyard. This is South Carolina, the upstate. Technically I'm in zone 7B. It is coming up on the middle of summer and the garden is very close to like absolutely exploding and floofing out big time. Let's go take a look at all those changes. So I always start in the same place so nobody gets confused. This is the first row next to the sidewalk. This is my soon-to-be tomato trellis. You can see one of them is already tall enough to hit the trellis, which is pretty neat. A lot of them are actually kind of flopped over because we had this huge like rainstorm. It was very sudden onset, lots of wind. I think this guy is going to be fine, and most of them are going to be fine, but they might be laying on the ground for a while until I can get them hooked up to the trellis. Also interplanted with the tomatoes, I have some basils. This one is a cinnamon basil, very vigorous, delicious plant. I have a few different kinds of basil in here. I think I have some lemon basil. Yeah, this one is a lemon basil. And then farther down, this one is a lettuce leaf basil. We'll see if it recovers from whatever's chewing on it. But I would say overall the tomatoes are doing great. They are of course behind where they might normally be. I had an issue where all of my initial tomato seedlings actually just like withered up and died. And I couldn't figure out why, because they were well watered, the soil was good. And the second round of tomatoes that I did, you can see they turned out perfectly fine, actually better than fine, quite vigorous. And so these just got planted, I think 2 weeks ago now from transplants. And I have a long enough season here where that doesn't really matter. Actually last year I got my tomatoes in around the same time because I had just moved here and it took a while to get this garden space established. Look at these pretty little onion blossoms. They're like little puff balls of joy. I'm trying to save seeds from these. I have this one and this one that went to seed that I just decided, oh, well, they're far enough along. I might as well leave them and get some seeds from them. But you can see most of the onions got pulled out. There's still a couple here that took their time flopping over. But you can see through the trellis, this used to be all onions. And they're pretty much all pulled up now. I actually just posted a video about what to do with your ugly onions if you harvest some that are like teeny tiny or split such that you cannot store them, like long-term storage onions. Then there's a few different ways that you can preserve them, and I go over them in this video. After the storm, the mint plant actually, it was kind of split in the middle and everything was like laying over like this, and it seems to be fluffing back up, but you can see it's still kind of spread out. It is probably actually still at the point where it's doubling in size every week that you guys see it. It just gets bigger and bigger. If you guys have any great recipes to use up a bunch of mint at once, I'm open to hearing it, because all I do with it is like dry it out for tea. And, you know, I'll add it to cocktails, or there's this like radish wrap that I make sometimes that I really like to have fresh mint on hand for. I do have a video about making that here, actually. Okay, so we're at the front of row 2, and up front I have a few more basils. You can never have too much basil. One of them is a purple basil, and this has not been super vigorous compared to like the Emily basil, this is a standard basil, and even the lettuce leaf basils are doing better than the purples. And they are kind of shaded out right now by this radish going to seed. This is all one radish going to seed, and I guess in a couple of weeks this will get taken out. But all the peppers over here are finally going to get more room because onions have come out. Although, look at these monster onions. These are the ones, I just knocked them over. Oh, hello, Kata. I just knocked them over earlier today, actually, so that they can begin to get ready to harvest, because there was only a few that hadn't quite knocked themselves over yet. Here's another big one. And it's time to go ahead and get them out, so I went ahead and helped them out and knocked them over. There will be a video about onion harvesting, but I'm going to be showing you guys harvesting and curing, so I'm waiting to put out that video until I can show you guys like fully cured onions. So it'll be about a month before you see that. But these peppers in this area are very vigorous. These ones at the front are actually hybrids. They're California Wonder red bell peppers, and they've been the most vigorous plants that I've had, which is expected given that they're a hybrid. But the rest of these plants are not looking too shabby either. Look, more basil. Never too much basil. Here's another purple one right in here. But you can see over here, like, these plants are not too different looking from these ones down here. And they are starting to put on flowers. Some of them even have peppers that they're growing already. I showed you guys this one last week. Oh, excuse the noise while I bump around in here. Yeah, we're starting to get bell peppers. And then over down this way is hot peppers that I have not caged. Not because I don't think they need it, but because I ran out of cages and I don't feel like buying any more. And they are hot peppers, so the peppers are going to be smaller. Also, look at this fish pepper. This is absolutely beautiful. I have 3 of them. And I know if you guys follow Scott Head, he tried to use some of my seeds for his single seed challenge, and they never sprouted for him, and I think that's really unfortunate. It must have gotten really, really unlucky, because I've got these beautiful plants in front of me. Maybe I'll save some fresh seeds and send him some more this year. Down here at the back of this row, we've got sunflowers coming up, and I'm getting the same problem I did last year, where deer, I think, are coming by and munching on my sunflowers. However, this fence, I think, is doing a good job of keeping them from coming farther into the garden, because I haven't noticed any damage past right here on the fence line. And if I had more room, more property, I would move the fence out, but I don't think this is mine past this line. I'm renting, so I'm not quite sure what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not, and what's mine and what's not. So we're just gonna let the sunflowers kind of tank the deer damage, because last year they all got eaten down to like basically nubs, and then they grew back just fine, and they actually split. So I had 2 sunflowers per plant instead of just the one, and that's kind of bonus, to be honest. All these ones along the back here that are big, like this one and this one, were volunteers, self-seeded, and then the ones that are about this size are the ones that I planted. And they are growing pretty vigorously at this point. Here's one that got eaten down. So we should have a good amount of sunflowers this year. Like this one will definitely grow back, be fine. If we come down, look at this one. He's had a few leaves eaten off, but he will also be just fine. actually starting to make a bit of a flower head, I think. So that's neat. I have no idea what kind of sunflower it's going to be because I planted quite a mix of sunflowers here last year. So it'll be a fun surprise. All right, so we are back here at the front and we're going to go down this row now. This garlic here, let me show you. I pulled this one last night to show somebody and kind of check in on how it's doing. And I think these are like pretty much ready for harvest. I've been pulling the ones that look closer, and honestly, this is huge garlic. This is Dixon's soft neck garlic from the Experimental Farm Network, and I am incredibly happy with it. I'm going to be saving some and replanting next year because it's just been such large, vigorous garlic. I guess I'll have to evaluate the taste as well, but so far, very pleased with it. Hello, Kata. Are you hiding in the garlic? Alright, so if we go down this row a little farther, you can see this empty space where I had lettuce, pulled most of it, and then let this one go to seed. And it is finally making flowers. I did not realize they were going to look so much like little tiny dandelions. That's very cute. And right in front of me, blocking my path, is a beautiful bouquet of radish flowers. These ones are... I actually don't know what kind of radishes these are. They might be icicle radishes. At least one of them is back there. Or Kata. Or watermelon radishes. She gets really riled up every time I rustle something. She really loves the rustling. Alright, so past the radishes is the turnip / beet jungle. It's pretty much time for these to come out. I need to start clearing this area out. And next to that is potatoes. These getting closer to harvest. I think it'll still be a few weeks, but they did already flower. And with potatoes, after they flower, you can technically start harvesting small potatoes from them, but I'm gonna go ahead and wait until these get much bigger before I harvest. The eggplant down here doing pretty great, actually. Last week I showed you guys my first flower. It looks like it's been pollinated, and I might be getting a little baby eggplant soon. These plants work a lot similar to peppers, where they'll put on a few fruits, you pick them all off, that's the first flush, and then they floof out and get a lot bigger, and they'll put on a lot more fruit in their second, and if you have time, third flushes. Not too concerned about the damage I see on the leaves. You guys kindly informed me that this is probably flea beetles, which after looking on the internet seems to be about right. I haven't seen any of them around, but they had the same damage last year, and it didn't really seem to stunt them at all, so I'm probably not going to do anything about it. Does this kale look as massive on camera as it feels in person? These are gigantic leaves, and I still haven't done anything with it. I keep saying I need to, and I haven't, but I will eventually. So right here on this front trellis, I have pulled out the onions, and I have planted cucumbers. I actually only have 2. I planted 4 on each side, and these 2 didn't come up, and some of these came up but then got maunched by something, so I'm gonna have to replant here. I try to plant only 1 seed per hole because thinning kind of breaks my heart, but when you don't plant extras, then if the one that you planted gets killed, kind of out of luck, gotta start over. I'm gonna be a little late. And like I've said, I have a really long growing season here, so that's probably not a huge problem. However, with cucumbers, in the heat, they don't do super well. So them being here in the shade of this tree is going to help a little bit, but they don't have a whole lot of time to get up and flower before the heat's going to really stress them out. After the cucumbers come up and die back, I will be planting winter squash here. My season is long enough that I can afford to plant winter squash a little later, and the idea here is that hopefully vine borers will be all the way through their life cycle before I plant the winter squash. Wow. Let's see if I can even get through here. This jungle gets more jungly every single week. So I've pulled out most of the peas. There's still a few here left that need to get pulled, but these pods have dried out. I'm pretty good for saving seed from. And below them, the noodle beans are coming up. They're looking a little rough, but I think they'll probably outgrow that pretty fast. Noodle beans are super vigorous. These are seeds I saved myself from last year. They're looking a little better on this side. These are seeds I saved myself last year, and I just could not get them to stop growing last year. So I'm expecting them to provide a pretty big harvest this year. All right, so this last row over here is looking a little sad. Garlic got all blown over, and I don't even think it's quite ready yet. I've pulled a couple of these, and they are a smaller variety of garlic, but none of the leaves are really dying back too much. Like this one even looks mostly green, but also knocked over. That's not super ideal. I could potentially go ahead and pull it, but I think I'm gonna wait and see how things pan out. But over here we do have more hot peppers as well as some zinnias in between. These ones are putting on some pretty purple flowers. I think this is a golden honey pepper. Oh, look. This zinnia is just starting to bloom. Oh, that's going to be really pretty. So yeah, down this row, especially this back corner, really just needs to get cleared out. Like this Brussels sprout that got eaten down, I really should just pull it out because it's not going to make any seeds for me, and all it's doing is taking up space and nutrients. This one Brussels sprout has still not gone to seed, which is super wild to me, and I might just leave it just out of curiosity, let it have this space. But I think all the rest of this in here needs to get pulled out. All right, let's take a quick look at the raised bed. My cilantro that got knocked by the previous storm, making its little seeds. These are probably going to be ready this week. Now you're starting to see like this turning colors and going yellow. That means the plant is starting to dry out its seeds. So I'll be making a video about saving these seeds when that happens. That'll be soon. My lavender over here is blooming beautifully. It smells awesome. Took me a long time to grow this lavender. I think this is its second year now that it's finally blooming, and it was tiny for a while. The oregano back here is shooting out, going to seed. I'm not gonna stop it. This is a perennial here, so it'll flower, and then, you know, later in the season I can get some more oregano off of it. The flavor I haven't found changes too much with the flowers. I've even kind of eaten the flowers before, but this plant will be ready by the time I need to start making pizza sauces with the tomatoes. My number one favorite thing from the garden last year was definitely the pizza sauce. Making a homemade pizza with just sauce and cheese and a little bit of fresh oregano sprinkled on top. It was amazing. So on this side, the parsley has also gone to seed. It's looking a little rough, but I will let it kind of die back. I might trim it back a little bit. Oh, look at that. Got some dead branches in there. But this is also going to be a perennial. If I cut it back, it will regrow. It looks like my Mexican tarragon is going to flower. That's pretty. We've also got thyme here. It has been flowering, been beautiful. Oh, look at all that fresh growth in the center. That's really nice. And then of course my stevia here. If we walk on over to the berry patch, it still doesn't look like much from far away, but I'm starting to see a little bit of new growth coming in on the blueberries, and the strawberry of course is going crazy right now. You can see all these runners it's putting out. Every little tuft of leaves out here, that's a new strawberry plant that it's going to make for me. So that is exactly what I wanted, and I'm kind of directing them sideways so they don't come out into the lawn. Ideally this will spread itself out all the way up and down both of these as kind of like an edible fluffy ground cover. We've got blackberries up in here, and then raspberries in here. This one did never come back, so I did order new plants which came in as bare root, and I put them in here. They are not due to come up just yet. Hopefully they do come up, but we'll see. I think I followed the instructions a little bit better with these ones than I did with that. And I mean, still 2 of those came back. This is finally looking like it's a vigorous plant, although its friend, very much alive, not quite as vigorous. Alright guys, and that is the tour for this week. Remember, garden tours come out every Wednesday, and I will hopefully see you in the in-between for some more videos. Oh, and remember to let me know if you like the shirt design, if you think it's worth putting on a shirt for you guys to have as well. Until next time, happy gardening.